So we wanted to share with you guys how and why we have ducks in our backyard. As you've probably seen in other videos, we have 2 ducks. They are Cayuga breed, coming from the northeast of the U.S. New York area. We ordered them from Murray McMurray Hatchery, and we have 2 girls so that they lay us eggs. And we chose them because they're a quieter breed. A lot of people keep backyard chickens, which is awesome. We do too. But we really wanted to integrate ducks into our garden using permaculture principles so that not only we would get the most benefits out of keeping ducks, because they're so awesome, they're totally worth it, but also that our garden would benefit too. They are our pest patrol, and they're an important part of our permaculture system in our backyard that we have integrated with both the mulch pathways and the plants and everything else. And so we just really wanted to share with you guys why you should consider keeping ducks if you're not doing it already. And maybe if you are, some of the ways they can be more easily integrated into your whole food system in whatever environment you're in. All right, so let's start with going through our pros and cons of keeping ducks, specifically in a smaller space. We are in a suburban context, regular old neighborhood. And so let's start with the cons. Play a little devil's advocate here. Con number 1, they use a lot of water. They need to have water accessible. They need to be able to dunk their whole head in to clear out their nostrils and passageway, So water is really important. Unlike chickens that, they just need to drink water, ducks, they need to submerge their whole head in it. And they really, for them to have a good quality life like we want them to, they need to be able to swim too and submerge their whole bodies into it. And so they do require a lot more water. We remedy that with the fact that we collect rainwater. And we use a lot of that for what they're both drinking and swimming in. So that's being recycled. But also, after they use it, we dump that onto our plants, especially fruit trees and elderberry, which loves it. So they use a lot of water, but we recycle that water and love the fact that they even poop in it and pee in it. And those nutrients get recycled back into the garden one way or another. But water usage, if you're in an area where that's really costly or somewhere you can't collect it for free, can be a real issue. Another part of that is with we've used buckets. We do use buckets from the rain barrels, but also we'll use totes and fill those up for them to swim in. We've kind of put in a small one of those little koi pond things at first, thinking this is going to look really cute and have it decorated with ferns around it and all that. They ate all the ferns and they just constantly splashed the water out of that little mini pond thing. And it was horrible to clean because not only do they splash the water out and you have to refill it, but it slowly just fills with sludge. So it has to be cleaned out. So putting something in the ground was just really labor intensive to clean, even though the nutrients were great for recycling and we would dump them on other stuff and we used a pump to make it as simple as possible, but it was still just really labor intensive. So we've moved on from that to using an ICB container that is really easy to fill and drain using recycled water from the rain barrels, or even if we really need to use a hose in the summer, and they can go through that for a long period of time, and then that can be recycled onto our plants. So there is a solution for every problem that I'm going to share. So water is it's an increased cost, but it's something that we're using anyway, so it doesn't affect us negatively, but that could be an issue for some people. The second con is the fact that they can be really messy. So when the nitrogen and carbon is really out of balance, whether that's because you have too many ducks or there isn't enough carbon to take care of their, poop and pee, then it's so they go out of the same hole. So it's very squirty and it's very messy. So you have like the water mess, but then you also have the fact that they are fertilizing freely everywhere all the time. And so we had to actually cut off our patio so that we could enjoy it without there being little squirts everywhere. um, but the mulch that we use for pathways soaks up that fertilizer and then distributes it when it rains underneath to the plant roots. So that's not an issue. We use a deep litter mulch system in our duck house and our chicken coop too that soaks in all of that messiness. And that's how we actually know when things are out of bounds, is they start to smell. And so we haven't had that issue now that we've had 2, but when we had 3, the duck house would get stinky really fast. And there was just an overall disproportion of nitrogen to the carbon that was either on the ground in the mulch or through the wood shavings in the duck house. And so they can't, and they're messy. If you don't have ground covering, they will make mud, and they love the mud, and they will play in it and stuff. And so part of that is really endearing to watch their fun natures, but it's also can get really gross. And so just something to be aware of is ducks are way messier, and that can be an issue if you don't have your environment set up to suit their needs, so that they're happy and comfortable doing what ducks love to do, which is digging and flapping and getting wet and getting stuff everywhere. Then that's an issue. And so a lot of that is just remedied again by setting up an environment that meets their needs as well as your own. Con number 3 is that they will eat your plants. They are omnivores. They need both protein and they need herbivore vegetables and stuff. So they will eat young, tender plants, and they'll even go for bigger stuff too. But so that's why we have all those little fences set up along the pathways. They won't fly over them or jump over them, partially because they're not super sturdy, and that makes them too insecure to go over it, versus if they were like solid, they would just hop on it and then hop on in, which they have done in other areas. But those little wooden fences are enough to keep them out of our annual bed areas and where we have tender young plants and stuff that they want to go for. So we do have to keep them separated in that, but they are awesome under perennials like our elderberries. They love foraging under there. It's great. They kind of keep some snakes away too. We know what's happening by the way they're acting. They're great in orchards. They're used in different parts of the world to take care of slugs and snails very intentionally in orchards, vineyards, rice paddies. I mean, they're really important integrated part of ecosystems and agriculture all over the planet. And so we don't want them to be fully separated just from the things that are small and can't handle a little nibble without being totally eaten up. So you do have to pick and choose where you want them so that they do not damage your plants. So number 4 goes back to costs. So the duck food is a bit more expensive than chicken feed. So it really goes chicken, all flock, and then duck food as far as costs of just buying feed for them. So that's something to consider. When we had that male, the Drake Ping, which was so cute and we loved him, that guy was a porker. He ate, when we got rid of him, our feed bill like literally got cut in half. So the 2 girls who are giving us eggs every day ate half of what the 1 male Drake ate. And so when it comes to duck food, which they do have different nutritional needs. They need higher niacin. They need to also have some grit. We put a little bit of oyster shell in as an option for them as well. They also love like eating sand and like charcoal dust and stuff like that, that they just need that grit as part of their stuff, and they'll forage it and they'll find it. But they just have different needs. So we have the duck feed, or the all-purpose flock stuff, has a higher protein content and meets those needs. So it is really important, but it will cost you a little more. So that's something to be aware of. But again, there is a solution. They are awesome foragers. So the fact that they are integrated more into our food system, they are getting more not only from the plants that they are able to access, like comfrey, we give them the radish tops, you know, whatever they can reach, they're obviously allowed to have. But also the slugs and the snails, the whole reason we want to have them, they're able to get on a daily basis, and whatever other bugs they can find to supplement what they are eating. This is our duck feeder my husband made. Pretty simple. Wood, pipe, long cut, and the ends can come off, so if we ever need to like wash the inside out or something. But for the most part, we just dump the duck feed in there, and it's perfect because they can use their bills to scoop it up and eat it without making a huge mess. So this is the least wasteful way we've come up with feeding the ducks, and it's something the kids do for chores. It's really easy. Okay, number 5, con. They do not put themselves to bed like chickens. They don't roost. They don't like at sundown go into the chicken coop and go to bed and the door shuts all automatically. We actually have to herd them. So otherwise they'll kind of hide in the garden together quietly. But rather than going into their house like other poultry would, we have to herd them. But the pro of that, the flip side, is they are herdable. They don't scatter like chickens. They are very easy to just push along and stay together. And so that's what we do every night, is just herd them up their little ramp to bed, and the problem's solved. But it means we have to be here to put them to bed or have somebody else do that. So that's a real con when you have a life and other things to do and it's sunset and you have to be mindful of putting your ducks to bed, when you don't have to think about that with chickens if you have them on an automatic door. So if you haven't figured it out yet, all the cons and the pros, they kind of go together. They overlap in one way or another. Ducks are mixed bags, kind of like people. You know, they have the good things that you really want, and they have other things that you just have to deal with and stuff. But a lot of times they overlap. Ducks are so much fun. They have really unique personalities, not just in general as like a species, but I don't know, they just bring so much to the garden, whether it's how they wag their tails in excitement all the time, like they just wag their butts and it's the cutest thing ever, how they'll be just a foot away. Ours don't really like to be held, but they will be and petted, but they just close enough so you can feed them, you know, and get really excited and talk to you and then move away and stuff. But they have so much personality and they just bring so much entertainment and joy. I mean, I love my chickens, but oh man, the ducks, they just bring it. They're like that crazy aunt that you know is going to do something weird and you want to invite to dinner anyways, even though it might make other people more awkward. The con of that would be at some point you gotta let them go. And so when we did have even Ping, they're fat, overly, our plump boy Ping, I couldn't put him down. We had to pass him on to a friend. So they will be very hard to let go of because we're enjoying them in such a much more of a playful pet kind of a way than we're able to do with a whole flock of chickens. Even the cat and the ducks interact in a really unique way. Like they'll get close to each other, but not right up in each other's business. Oh, he's saying, oh, Dash, do you like Darla and Daisy? They're looking at you. They're looking at you. So they just get like a foot apart and stare at each other, and they give each other space, but they're like still very interactive, you know, versus he doesn't pay any attention to the chickens. The chickens could care less, but there's just like something so interactive and entertaining about every, encounter with them. Go get him, tiger. One of our favorite pros is the fact that we're getting eggs very consistently. So the ducks, they lay almost all year round. There's very few times where they're not laying each an egg a day. They don't go through molting, or we haven't experienced that yet. So they're super consistent for laying eggs, which is really nice. The bummer is we have to do an Easter egg hunt sometimes and find them, because they really like to stockpile them in little nests wherever. And once we find that nest and remove all those eggs, they like to go find another spot. So we do have to find them, but it's fun and it's not that hard, and they are just really consistent, wonderful egg layers. And we love the eggs. The duck eggs are exceptional for baking, especially for us. I do a lot of gluten-free, dairy-free baking, and it would not work the same without duck eggs. Like, hands down. They wouldn't, it just adds so much quality to what we bake, both for ourselves and for farmers market. Our son Malachi calls them cake eggs, literally, because he says they taste sweeter. They're bigger. They have a higher fat and protein content. They're just awesome. So if you love duck eggs, this is all the more reason to enjoy them. Another great pro is the fact that they're fertilizing as they do go around. If you keep them in the right spots, then their number 1 and number 2 are like an asset to your garden. So we love the fact that they're going as they walk along, and that is being sunk into the ground, and it's being just distributed in the mulch. And then when it rains, it goes through, and that's something that the roots of all of our plants can soak up, and it's just really beneficial. So, and also when they're swimming, they go in that water as well. And so that water that we recycle also becomes fertilizer in a sense, and is distributed to more of our perennial plants. But the main reason we got them is because they are our permaculture pest control. So as they wander through the garden, they take care of all the slugs and snails. When we first just covered it all with mulch, those first 2 years, when we would plant out annual seedlings, we would have some slug damage and stuff. And it's so discouraging when you are starting plants from seed and you have been babying them for months indoors to get to the point where you can, and then hardening them off to transplant them out, and then a week later they're gone because of some little slimy slug or snail that's going and eating them. It's so discouraging, especially in the spring when we get most of our water, along with a lot of other regions as well. But the ducks go around happily, and they use their little shovel bills to get under the ground and take care of any slugs, snails, even grubs, like those little June bug beetles that are horrible, and other things that bury themselves in the ground and come back each year and are persistent pests. They find them and they take care of them, and every year our pest pressure has gone down, both for the main slugs and snails, which is great in protecting small seedlings, because they'll hide in the little pots anywhere, wood, whatever. And the ducks, they get right in there and under it, and they take care of them. And so that's like, they're our pest patrol. Like, they're such a blessing to our garden, and how they're integrated into it, and just relieve that pressure for us. We don't have to look for them. When we do find something, we throw it to them, and they're happy campers. This is our super fancy, very expensive, high-tech, one-of-a-kind duck house. Just kidding. Well, it is all those things, but not in the way you might think. My husband made this out of old window awning. So the metal part and is all just, it was one window awning over there that he cut apart and took apart, used recycled pieces of wood, made a little ladder, that the ramp that the ducks use. We have it lifted off the ground for a couple reasons. One, because we want to have a solid floor underneath, because we do have raccoon and fox issues. So we have, as far as predators go, we want to make sure that they are fully secure, that a raccoon can't come in and get them, because they will. And we want to make sure that there's good, like a dry area for the food underneath. That's where we keep that. And just if they, want to have a covered area in general, we used to put straw down there in case they wanted to lay there. They never wanted to lay their eggs there, so it was pointless. But it keeps the food dry, and that's really important when we have unexpected showers. So we have the omelet automatic door opener. We have it timed so that in the morning, we had so many issues when we first got them of them quacking really loud in the morning. Like the sun comes up and they're like roosters, man, except for it's quack, 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 because they want out of it. And they go flying out in the morning. And so when we got the automatic door opener, they were able to, as soon as it was light out, get outside, not make any noise for our neighbors. And regardless of whether it was raining or, rain or shine, they were let out and they loved that. And so that just made it a lot easier. That at least we have to herd them every night up the ramp and into bed and shut the door manually. But they can get out in the morning all by themselves. And I'm not a morning person, so I really appreciate it. This door has been awesome. The one thing that I would say is that it does stick when it's icy out. So when in the winter, we have had issues with the door freezing and having to just dump water on it so that it de-ices and will close. And that's it. That's the only issue. How he made it is it opens like this as far as on the side for cleaning. So I'd put this down, okay? Ta-da! Oh, and they have been laying in here. So we just bring the wheelbarrow over here, use the rake, scrape out the old debris, the deep litter, and when it gets like really filled up and stinky, it's very rare. It takes a while. They're really content, and then they lay in here. I think this is a chicken egg. We have a chicken that's been sneaking out of the... Anyways, we have a crazy chicken that is coming over here that likes to lay with the ducks. So anyways, we've got this. So we scoop it out and then just put fresh wood shavings every couple months or something. But for the most part, they don't hang out in here. They're just in there at night, so it doesn't get super dirty or stinky. But anyways, that's our very simple duck house. Also, it's really important that there's good ventilation, and that's why we reuse this metal. So it wouldn't rot. It's got enough airflow in the summer when it's hot, so that they're not totally, they're not going to suffocate in there. It gives them good air, but also totally keeps the water off of them so that their shavings don't get wet because of the fact that it's an awning for a window. I also forgot to mention that because they submerge themselves in water so much and they have like a special stuff on their coating on their feathers, they're not as prone to get mites and other diseases that a lot of chickens struggle with. So they're just hardier in that way, I think, through the seasons and against a lot of the pests that the poultry themselves deal with. So we hope that you learned something, that maybe you're encouraged that if we can possibly keep 2 ducks alive in our small backyard and that they're beneficial, that maybe you'll give them a try too, because they make wonderful garden companions. And you're kind of like a pet too. Yeah, kind of. Anyways, thanks for joining us. We hope you give them a go. Bye.